I'm here back again, Andre from Bullseye LLC. You know that I'm a gun manufacturer, gun enthusiast. Right now, I have to the left of me my sister, my mother, my mentor. The reason I brought my sister onto this platform to speak because she played a pivotal role into my success and my business growing. But before we dive into that conversation, I wanted to give her the opportunity to introduce herself, and then we'll pull back the layers of the onion as we go.
As you just said, my name is Rochina, aka Money. Um, I've I don't know, pretty much everything you said. It's my little brother. I'm amazingly proud of him. Happy to be a part of this interview. I'm a business owner, serial entrepreneur, and excited to get it started.
So that's cool. Actually, the studio that we in, Free, he calls himself a serial creative. So for you to call yourself a serial entrepreneur, what does that mean to you? Like, give it a definition.
I would say I'm more of an opportunist. I like to take something from nothing and kind of grow it. I definitely like the money aspects of it and seeing something from my mind materialize into the world. So I have several businesses ongoing now.
So growing up, to give the world some backstory of our relationship. My mother dies when I'm between 7 and 8. At that age, you take custody as a dying wish. How old were you at that time?
I was 19, 19.
So at 19, taking on the responsibility of two young males being a female, what goes through your mind at that time?
Kind of like just carrying on a legacy. I jumped in head first more with emotion than the practicality of it. But, I was excited about it and I didn't know everything that it entailed, but I look forward to it as something, again, that, I can help, kind of impart the values and the beliefs that I had into somebody and kind of, hopefully make you guys great.
There was, and I tell a lot of people when I'm teaching my class, and people ask me, even family members ask me, how long was I into guns, and I tell them it was a very young age. And when we lived in Bunker Hill, everyone was there. There's a group of me, Quan, and others, and you told us when you came back, you wanted to see at least 10 things on a piece of paper of what we wanted to be when we grew up. And I remember vividly that on that piece of paper, I had things like police officer, military, because you were in social services and I idolized you. Social services or social worker was on it. But the cool aspect of it is that you looked at that paper and analyzed it and then determined that there was a common thread. And you questioned me on why would I want to be a police officer or why would I want to join the military. And my response was for the guns. And you were like, you don't need to go to the military or to the police force to go guns. We from the hood. I could bring you somebody who knows about these guns. And being so young and having a parent, uh, a parental figure in your life that would allow you to explore your dreams, especially dreams of guns, what can be, by its nature, can be dangerous. But it was almost like you were saying, there's no obstacles and barriers that I'm gonna allow to hinder you from achieving or exploring these thoughts and ideas.
That's exactly what I was saying. The one thing I think that I've been blessed with is the belief in the internal feeling that you can be anything. So the one thing I wanted you guys to know, like the things that you were putting on paper, even at that young age, and I probably couldn't articulate it on it as well as I'm doing now, but I just knew like you didn't have to be the traditional things, like kind of put yourself in the box that people said. Like there were things that I witnessed or caught glimpses of, be it through school field trips or whatever, that were more than we could see right in front of us. So I wanted y'all to think bigger. I want you to think outside the box. I didn't want you to be content with just being, a community officer and kind of getting a check and living out the rest of your life. Like I really felt, even at that time that us just being born to the people that we were born to the time and places, and us kind of getting past what we got past as far as the negative statistics that people, even back then thought that we would never make it this far. So, I kind of want to try to see that. I didn't want, especially as men of color, to be limited by whatever you were going to do. And honestly, I'm as proud of you as you are of me. And I tell people all the time, like, I never thought you would take it to these heights, partially because I didn't know, what was possible in the gun world and different things of that nature. But yeah, I believed it then, and I believe it even stronger now. Even on my way, here to the studio, just thinking like, wow, you put this together. Like, again, you bring it to a different level. So
And one of the things that stood out to me as a child was your ambition and your self motivation, where at 19 you already owned your own home. And I want to say maybe within a year or two of that, you already had your first official um, business, which was Black Beauty Bookstore, which is tattooed on my chest. Um, and the crazy part, I tell people all the time, who gets the opportunity to see me without clothes on or without a shirt on, is that at the time as a child, I had no idea that I had two women tattooed on my chest. And it was like the artist, as he was tattooing, he was like, "This is cool. Who came up with this idea?" And his name was Charlie, and he did some of your work as well. And he was like, "You do know that you're getting two women tattooed on." At this point, it's too late. It's like, you're already drawing it. And I was like, but the whole idea and aspect that at 19, at 20, your courage was always at the forefront as a risk taker. Where if I gauge my level of risk, which you definitely push me more and more each year and every day that we speak, that I need to, if I'm gonna do this, if I'm gonna grow this business, there's not gonna be a day where it just all makes sense. You're gonna have to step out on that limb and take a leap of faith. And you always say, well, what's the worst thing that's gonna happen? And I had to really sit back as an adult and really ponder the idea of what is the worst that can happen. There's plenty of times that we've all been in debt, and the cool part about being in debt is the journey of climbing out of it and to have seen your vision come full circle.
definitely, definitely. I think a few things. I think courage. Some of us are born with it. Some of us naturally learn it. I think what happens a lot of times, especially in the communities where we come from, is that people put their fears on you. And I know that it's not just me, it's not just you, it's universal. Jay-Z said it best when he said his uncle said, you never sell a million records, and I sold a million records a million times, So for me, I just looked at my life as the same token. I mean, my mother was a dope fiend. She got high. I was born with heroin in me, and she actually ended her life by overdosing. So I'm the statistic that was never meant to make it every day that I have. I was never guaranteed that day. So, kind of, our stories are similar. The fact your mother died at a young age. My mother died when I was older, but still young. I think at 17. So it kind of lets you know that there's no one coming to save you. Like a lot of people are dependent on their parents. And it's a good thing. Everybody has their own journey to follow. So, it's not a good or a bad thing. And I always tell people that my mother dying was a blessing and a curse. But what it does, it takes away the dependency aspect. You don't have anyone to depend on. You only have yourself. And, I've told you guys all the time, like, we the help. A lot of times we wait for people to come save us, but we are the ones who have to save ourselves. And again, I think I was always blessed to kind of know that, even though I couldn't articulate again like I'm doing now. I kind of knew, like, nobody's coming to get you. Nobody's coming to make it all better. Like, whatever you have in your mind, whatever you feel in your heart, like, you got to use that and you got to make it better. And because you guys were so young, and I knew the pain, even though you couldn't articulate on it, at the time, just, of lostness and feeling not attached, to something that I wanted to let you know that you had to be grounded within yourself, and that no matter what happened, and you remember we used to play the game like, if I die right now, what would you do? It was always a thing of me wanting you guys to be as equally as prepared as Granddad had made me, so that if something happens, you're always prepared. You can always go ahead. You don't have to look at it like, oh, I don't have a mother, I can't go ahead. I don't have nobody to help me, I can't go ahead. No, as long as you got yourself, you always can go ahead, And I think, as the years have gone by and I try to surround myself with people with that same energy, it's kind of confirmed it and reinforced it. And like I said, even with Brian, you, Quan, there's been times when I was worried about you, because it was a certain point with, even though, me being homosexual, whatever you want to call it, lesbian, it was only so far I could take you. I can show you what I thought a black male was, and I can instill the values that I thought. But there was a time when you was like 13, 14 or whatever, where, you had to kind of figure it out for yourself. So, you guys kind of navigated it and you did amazing, you know what I'm saying? So it's a tribute not only to, what I brought to the table, but what you guys took in, and what you made it as well. So
Yeah, and I definitely remember growing up and I'm gonna say it for lack of a better word, the morbid conversations. But it was in a direct comparison because of our unfortunate situations, was our reality, and we knew that growing up that death was inevitable. But for us, death was always lurking around the corner, and it's a weird complex because as people try to get into my life personally, they don't realize the separation and how we can easily disconnect and remove ourselves because the most important person in our lives died at a young age. So we know, and not only our mothers, but grandparents, aunts, uncles died very young. So for us to realize that we are our own help, for us to look in the mirror, and the other thing I say, our confidence, right? When you only have to rely on yourself, you better be damn confident. If not, our environment in which we grew up in and what we either thrived in or some of our close people succumbed to is what kind of separated us and allow us to look in the mirror without doubt. There's a lot of people like, wow, you look in the mirror without doubt and you're the dopest dude. Yeah. And when I say dope, I'm not saying I'm the most attractive to anybody in the world. When I say dope, I'm using it in a sense like when I enter the space, I demand respect, I demand attention, I demand a certain level of notoriety. Yeah. And I think a lot of that comes from you just by your swag and your demeanor, and you never allowed us to exemplify anything less. I don't care if it was the way that we walked, the way that we talked. It was always under scrutiny as far as we had to realize that whenever we stepped in a room, we were competing against everyone else in that room, whether that was our intentions or not, that you had a target on your back, whether it was a soft target or a hard target, and that in this world. So when I go into the workplace and I talk to colleagues and I talk to coworkers, I'm like, yeah, we cool. But we both want the same thing. So you not only are we cool, but at the same time you are the op, right? Mm-hmm. You are the opponent, and so that competitive nature where we would get out the car as a young, you like the first person around the block. I mean, around the house X amount of times will get X. And don't get me wrong, I know there's a pun on your name, even though it's spelled differently. With it being money, the motivating factor that you definitely instilled, which I value high, is like, do this, it equals money. The faster you are, equals money. The more strategic you are, equals money. The more you dominate a space, equals money. And it was like, okay, I might not be the fastest. So when we were race as children, I'm like, okay, I'm not as fast as Jim. I'm not as fast as Juju or someone like that. But what I'm saying is, if we got a finish line, it doesn't matter how fast he get to the midpoint, as long as I get to the finish line before he does. And that was something that you always, where things that I had no interest in, you pushed upon me. Like at 7 years old, I was already playing chess with dudes who did serious time in prison, whose strategic game is far beyond what I would ever think of at 7 years old. And so when I sit in my bed at night and I'm like 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm starting to see things move, and I'm like, okay, if I do this, that means that money might come from this way. That means this person might circulate around and bring this money this way. And I'm like, oh, that's the chess. That's what she was doing without saying that's what she was doing. And so when I say a mentor, a mother, a sister, not everyone is blessed to have all that in one being. So the reason I wanted to bring you on is to without having to say it directly or saying it indirectly, you are a essential component to the success I have had over the past. And it may seem like it happened overnight for some people, but this is something I've been strategically brainstorming since I was a child, essentially, with the whole gun thing. And so you're talking about 7 years, and I'll be over pretty much almost 30 years now that I've been working at it and not realizing that those small gems, those small diamonds were being placed in my life. Now, with that being said, you're not a mentor in every facet, right? There's different people for different purposes. I don't rely on you more so for, let's say, I don't come to you for financial because I already know your response. Your response is always gonna say you're gonna find a way. You're gonna find. It's not saying I'm gonna tell you how you're gonna do it. If you want it bad enough, you're gonna find a way. So I have to go to different outlets to try to find financial strategies.
Well, I think you took it to another level. I mean, you can only teach people what you know. You know, my background was in hustling, not finance. You know, so like I said, I'm creative and I'm artistic, so I can actually give you the vision point. But you have definitely showed me a lot as far as the business aspect, as far as different ways of doing things, you know, in a more formal way, which, you know, I brought what I could to the table, you know, but at a certain point, you know, the student surpasses the teacher. And what I think I wanted you guys to know most was definitely to just be prepared. An old guy, Mr. Hoffler, told me before, he said, you don't make up the plan when something happens. You got to always kind of be prepared, and you can't get ready when the crisis happens. So my greatest fear for you guys, even though I didn't birth you, but as a parent and as a child of a substance abuser, was that you were ready at any given point in time, and that you were prepared for whatever life threw at you. That's the part that as you get older, you get wiser, you realize I can't control what life throws at you, but if I get you as prepared as I can, it doesn't matter what it throws at you because you're going to be able to handle it. So, you know, like I said, I call you equally as much as you call me now with a real listening ear. You know, it was a time before you was young, you couldn't teach me nothing. You know, you only knew what I had gave you and your life scope was limited. You hadn't seen a lot, but now, you know, with the gun stuff, you know, you doing the FFL training and different things of that nature, like you've taken it to a height and you've interacted and networked with people. So now you do have something to bring back to me, and you do have something to like, okay, you've been doing this, but now you can, you know, add this and, you know, tweak it, which is exactly what is supposed to happen in my eyes, you know. So a lot of times, again, you know, you're not always able to articulate on your feelings, partially from dysfunction and us coming from a community where you're not taught to articulate. But I try to show you, you know, that I'm proud even when my words kind of fell. So I think when it's done right, it's meant to be a back and forth. You know, it doesn't matter our age, it doesn't matter, you know, our genders or whatever. But if you have something to teach, then teach. You know, if I have something to share, then share. And I think sometimes it's a disconnect, or where it kind of falls short is when people don't do that. When, you know, you have the brother or, you know, the son who takes his knowledge and goes on. You know, you have the person that's not willing to be as tolerant with me. And I know sometimes you have to explain the same thing to me 2 or 3 times because my brain just ain't wired with that. But I see your progress and I see your success, and I see how some of the things that I do are antiquated, and that some of the things you do can make my life easier. So I'm open to it even when I don't understand it. And to me, as far as what I wanted to see happen with you and Quan, or like I'm living it. I'm alive to see your success. I'm alive, to see some of your failures too, but just to see your resilience and see you get back up and see you kind of make it, turn into what it's gonna be, the good, the bad, and the ugly, or whatever. So but it definitely is a back and forth.
So and I'm probably gonna miss a few. So as a serial new term that I'm gonna steal, as a serial entrepreneur, the bookstore as a child, you had multiple food endeavors where there was diners or breakfast buffets. Uh, you have Greenscape, you had the barber shop, you had hair salons, and now you have All Smoke. For someone to dibble and dabble, and then you also involve yourself in real estate. So to dibble and dabble into so many different facets, and hard to find symmetry amongst them, right? They're very different businesses with different tasks and different services that you provide. What's the motivating factor? What's the deciding factor? My internal instinct is saying, you see money, you see profits, and that's why you do it. But other than that, is there something else that might be the?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely always a quest to find purpose. I mean, even though I was older than you guys when I took custody of you, I mean, I still was searching myself. Being a child of an addict, a lot of things aren't explained. A lot of things are just given to you, and you're forced to either accept them or you're asked to accept them. So, for me, and I know, we've had this talk back and forth as far as, your authentic self, your business, marrying the two lives. So for me now, I look at All Smoke as being one of the things where I could marry both my lives. So I don't have to have two lives. I don't have to hate what I do. I don't have to go home from work and, dread going back the next day. Like, who we are, our lifestyle, my values, what's important to me, kind of enjoying life, living life on a higher level, having a little class about it. Like this is probably the one that I'm gonna leave the greatest legacy for. For me, it's been a way for me to transition from the streets now into the legitimate world, and I think that it's an opening opportunity at this particular point in history where a lot of people are going to be able to get through the gateway. So definitely fulfilling my purpose and leaving a legacy.
If you go back now, wow, 19, we're talking over 30 years, let's say between 20 and 30 years. Could you have seen or projected that this is where you would be at this point in your life? Or are you still striving for your ultimate goal, or have you achieved or accomplished where you set to be at this point of your life?
I think I'm on the path to it, but I don't think you can imagine things coming from where we came from that far in advance, because people can show you so much, but sometimes people don't get to make it to the end of that life cycle themselves. So for me, in a lot of ways, I was told things at that stage and point of time that people understood it from. Now that I'm 49, at the time when I took custody of you guys and up until now, I didn't know a lot of people that was 49 that had the life that I wanted. So now getting closer, to the ultimate goal of mine as far as, mirroring the two lives, like I see more. The world is different. More is open to us. Before, was kind of like do what I say do, just follow it or whatever. Like we're exploring more. The world is more obtainable. It's more, how they used to say a glass ceiling. There's no more glass ceiling. Like the sky is really the limit. And even though I believe that, then I couldn't conceptualize what that looked like. Now, I have actual models and actual people where I can say that's what it looks like. That's what I want my life to look like. So, yeah. So good and bad. I'm probably where I thought I would be, but at the same time, not totally the end of where I want to be. I still have more. I definitely want to accomplish a lot more. This, as I like to say, is going to be my biggest flex.
So 2017, you gave me a bottle of Ace of Spade to celebrate a milestone, an achievement. It was supposed to be open and a celebration. That didn't happen. And what that bottle eventually became was a motivator in a sense of when I accomplish what I set out to accomplish, that bottle will then be popped. The
Nice.
hard part about that bottle is every time I look at it and I accomplish something, immediately after there's another goal I set forth and that bottle remain enclosed. And so I'm now at a crossroad. It was like all the things that I've accomplished in my adulthood. Is it time to open that bottle and celebrate the accomplishments, or do I keep it encapsulated, or do I keep it enclosed because there's still more that I aspire to achieve? And I ask you that almost in a sense of, do I have permission to open it, or do you say there's that I haven't reached that point where it's deserving to be opened?
I think spiritually, you'll know when you deserve it. I think a lot of times, the things that we challenge ourselves with are not necessarily challenges for us. I think you've done amazing, but I think you can do more.
Yes.
And not in a measurement sort of way. I don't think you're at your pentacle yet. I think like you're at the beginning. I think you're in the middle of some things, and I think you're on the right path for the trajectory of where you're gonna go. But I think that moment, like we had a bet, for the M, I think it's just gonna be like pop the bottle. It's bottle popping time, and we all gonna kind of feel it and embrace it. And I think we close. I think we close. So you could carry it in the car, but carry the car. I think we'll know. I think we'll know though. But I think you're definitely deserving of at least a cup of. Something, so we'll figure it out though. But the most important part is that you continue to make these connections and that you continue to look higher and higher and higher. And you're gonna know. You're gonna know when it's something when you're like, I didn't think I could do that. I did that. That's the moment.
It's crazy because I think in the near future, and probably gonna happen probably today, we'll have that conversation about that bet, because all three of us are in this space now, and I think this is a perfect opportunity and a perfect platform to talk about that bet and how we utilize these bets, not only for whatever purposes, but to motivate one another. And even if we all four fall short of that milestone, the journey, the road, the sweat, the tears, the late nights, the sleepless nights, all are worth it. And in doing so, now that you say that, I think, and I won't disclose it at this point in time, I think that's when I popped that bottle.
Can't let you win. Can't let you win. Gotta keep it sporty. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, my thing, like I said, even though, I know that y'all lifetime is hopefully going to be much longer than mine or whatever, I still got to keep y'all, on y'all toes or whatever. I got to apply the pressure so y'all could go. I can't just sit back. I'm not that old yet where I want to just step down and let y'all have the throne or whatever. Like, give y'all a run for y'all money. So I set the bar high. So no matter what, y'all know, like, to keep going and going and going.
Our first business venture, what was that, 21, 22, when K-Tone?
Mm-hmm.
When we came up with that agreement, it was frightening, and I had doubts. Not doubts in you because I know your capabilities and I know your skill set, more so in myself of wanting to take on such a huge responsibility. So you purchased your first home at 19, and so crazy how when someone is your parent, right, that at 21 I'm now purchasing my first home in a different aspect, in a different type of fashion, but the excitement to be able to say the notch, the tally, to be able to say like, oh shoot, at 21, I purchased a home. and went through that whole. It's possible, right?
Possible.
And it doesn't require a lot of money. And I think later on we'll start talking about financial literacy and how that pertains to you, how that pertains to me, how it pertains to your upbringing, how it pertains to how you brought me up, and kind of explore different ways of accomplishing what you want to accomplish, whether it's a traditional way or an untraditional way. You have a huge resume of accomplishing what you want to accomplish in an unorthodox or in a think outside the box way. And you always challenge me and Brian, Quan, Letitia, anybody that you're around. You're like, so if it doesn't work that way, do it another way. Like, and even if you selling us on some bull crap, you say with such confidence, with such vigor, that as a recipient of that information, I know no differ. I know that it's like, nah, you can do it. And like, no was never, no. When I say no, there's plenty of times you said no to us, meaning like, no, you're not getting it from you. I'm not saying that you can't have it. I'm just saying I'm not gonna be the one to give it to you. Where when I purchased my own home, it's pretty much like, you'll find a way to get it. If you want this, you'll find a way to get it. There's plenty of times you have lump sums of money, and I was afraid to ask you for a loan because I've already been told so many times, if you want it bad enough, you'll figure out the way to get it.
And you did.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely. There's power in words, and there's power in your own words. I think that's the biggest part of us as a community. Like, we have to get that sense of empowerment that we have lost. With Granddad's era, people used to instill that in the kids, that, your work ethic was, hard, and it spoke of your character and stuff. And somewhere along there, we lost that. So even though, I'm kind of in these times, I'm kind of traditional in a lot of ways that people wouldn't expect. Hard work pays off in my book. And, it's a street saying you eat what you kill. So, I'm not going to continue feeding you. My job is to kind of get you to where you need to be, and that was helping y'all get through high school or of age where y'all could do for yourself. Y'all men now, and I always wanted y'all to be able to take care of me, and take care of your own families. And I think that's something that is both learned and taught. Like I said, the job of a male is to be a provider and a protector, and I think we forget to say that, to our men. So it comes as something so foreign to them that it's like a burden. No, that's your job. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to raise y'all now, but your job is to one day, turn the tables. And if it's not me, then your own family, and be that head, take your position at the head. And, like you said about the chess thing, a lot of strategy is learned during chess. A lot of order is learned. And I wanted you guys to know that in a way that I couldn't explain to you and give to you. You had to be like playing on the board. You had to be in it. You had to be invested. You had to have something to lose. And now, when I hear you guys speak, I'll be like, I did what I was supposed to do.
I think that's a perfect way to wrap it up, because those was bars that you were just spitting. So let the world know who you are, where they can find you, your Instagram, your whatever it is, that websites or whatever it is.
All Smoke CT is our Instagram, and we have 2 shops that are open in Waterbury, and we also have All Smoke Lounge that's just been open for cannabis-driven events and other small parties and organizations.
You know who I am, Andre, Bullseye LLC, website www.bullseye-LLC. You can find me more on Bullseye_LLC on Instagram. We're on Facebook. There's on TikTok. Pleasure.
Definitely.
Honor.
Yes.
Thank you.
Love you, bro.
Love you.